Now, with that in mind, what should you do if you are an FFL serving your local community with either a storefront or an at-home FFL? Well, we can talk about some of the things that you should be doing to promote your business. Now, I'm going to assume that you understand that the digital space and search in general is a powerful tool for FFLs to bring in business. Someone looking for an FFL to transfer a firearm purchased online or a brick and mortar for a purchase is going to go to Google to find what they are looking for first, and if not Google, then possibly a social media platform. So it's important that your local community is able to find you. In my area alone, I've counted at least 19 different FFLs around me, and that's just what I could find quickly. I'm sure there are far more smaller FFLs in my area. All of these are competing for exposure and top billing in major search engines. So how do you establish yourself as a credible and top billed place to go as a firearms dealer? Well, there's a lot that needs to be done, and it does take time and effort to accomplish, but here's the basic outline. First, you have your Google business profile. This is free to set up and critical for local searches. For home-based FFLs, a word of caution on this. For a business like an FFL, you have to have a physical location listed because of the goods that you are dealing with, specifically firearms. Any business that offers products where the purchaser must be of a minimum age must have a storefront per Google's rules. Google will nuke you from orbit once they find you have a service area business, or rather one that does not list an address, just an area of operations in a firearms category. I know this puts home-based FFLs in a bit of a catch-22, but Google's never really been our friend. So if you are operating out of your garage and want to maintain a Google business profile, be aware that it will be subject to publicly posting your address on the most visible location, Google. With that particular word of warning, let's continue. Be sure to claim and verify your listing if it exists. If not, create it. Make sure that once this is done, you verify your listing. Verification will require you to use a mobile device to take a video recording. This normally entails starting at your storefront and walking into the business, unlocking the door, showing use of employee-only things such as registers, going into back rooms, etc. Also, in the verification video, Google does not want to see faces, so keep that in mind as well. It's a bit of a pain, but once verified, your profile will be stronger and more trusted with Google. Now, along with making sure that you have your Google business profile verified, be sure that you have all of your business information correct. Name, address, phone number, website URL, store hours. Make sure these details match exactly across all platforms. So don't have outdated store hours on your website and up-to-date ones on your Google business profile. That can cause issues. Make sure that you're filling out your categories and attributes for your Google business profile. For most of you, the business category of gun shop would make the most sense, but at the time of this recording, there are only gun shop, sporting goods store, shooting range, and firearms academy that are relevant to FFLs for Google business profile categories. I would recommend picking the one that encompasses your primary service. So if you have an indoor shooting range with a store attached, then I'd pick the one that you want to emphasize the most. If you sell guns but have fishing equipment, then sporting goods store is probably the most relevant to you. From there, start getting your services down. Gunsmithing, concealed carry classes, transfers, etc. Once all this information is filled out, top it off with quality photos of the store, inside and out. Most modern phones will take a perfectly usable photo, so no pro photographer needed unless it's in the budget. Now, a lot of directories or websites that list local business will probably pick you up if you have a website or some kind of online presence. I'd recommend claiming as many of these listings as you can or creating them. If there is a local website that lists businesses in your area, then make sure that you are on that one at the very least. Yelp is another good bet for getting your name out there, as they focus on brick and mortar businesses. Again, just make sure that you are fully filling out your profile so that Yelp knows how to categorize you. Beyond these kinds of listings, you can do work with your own website as well. Talk about your location on your page. If you're offering classes, words like Premier Concealed Carry training for the blank area should be on that page predominantly. Gunsmith, same thing. Carry the widest selection in your city. Are you the most knowledgeable in your town? Put that kind of stuff on there. For website design, if you're worried about how easy your website is to use, get your least tech-savvy relative to do something on the website, preferably on a phone, without your help. If they can't, then you may need to revisit your design and navigation. Now, there's a lot more that I could go into: email lists, social media management, but you get the basics of cracking into Google search and getting them to start to show you to customers. Actually, speaking of Google, we should discuss some of the things that have been going on with them recently in the legal sphere and maybe some speculation about where they might be headed in the future. Now, take this next bit with a grain of salt, as I am doing some speculation here, but I think the advice that follows on from it is on sound logic. Long story short, Google is getting hammered with antitrust lawsuits, accusing them of being a monopoly. The government wants to break them up, and as a longtime anti-Google person, I can't wait to see them get drawn and quartered. Now, this could result in a lot of Google's properties getting broken off. The main one that's been floating around has been their Chrome web browser. However, other entities such as YouTube are also on the table as well. Now, if YouTube does get broken off, would this mean that it would suddenly become a bastion of 2A advocacy that we all want it to be? No, I really don't think so. But this would force the biggest search engine in the world right now to stop giving preferential treatment to their own video platform. I've long been an advocate for diversification of your content strategy, and this just adds fuel to my fire. If you're doing something in the YouTube space, shorts, long-form video, etc., get a Rumble channel set up. I'm currently cross-posting everything to Rumble. Yes, it is an extra step and it gains a fraction of the views, but I'm currently collecting data to help develop something of a guide for best practices on Rumble for the 2A community. So far, from what I've seen, it's a mixed bag. Views and subscribers are a fraction of what I can get on YouTube, even on a poorly performing video. I've also been experimenting with short-form content on Rumble, however, at the moment, it doesn't really seem to make much of a difference. Also, Rumble, please do something about the spam comments. Seriously, the spam comments about improving my Rumble account or how we can market your business are just plain annoying. It will take some time, and I don't think that Rumble is going to dwarf YouTube anytime soon, but a platform that does not go out of its way to censor is one that's worth putting at least a bit of time into in my book, especially when they worked with the likes of Robert Barnes and David Freiheit to build their terms of service. Laugh at me now, but look, organic reach on a lot of social media platforms is going out the window, and it's getting to the point where it's pay to play on social media. Instagram, for instance, has a big focus on Reels and Stories. You can focus your content to a specific location with tags, but you are looking at best a 3% organic reach, and your content will have a shelf life of only a day or two. And Instagram has one of the best organic reaches around. Facebook, Meta's other big platform, only gives you a 0.5% organic reach. Its primary redeeming feature would be ads, but for FFLs, that's a no-go. So you either spin up a whole dedicated website that's just accessories so that you can leverage Facebook's marketing, or you just don't do anything with Facebook or Instagram advertising, leaving you somewhat hamstrung in growing organically with that abysmal organic reach. So the best thing that you can do on Facebook is focus on local groups, answer questions when something related to your services comes up, and build trust through reviews. Beyond that, if you want to reach a younger audience, think not older people, but younger and first-time firearms owners, Facebook is kind of dead for that particular purpose. And furthermore, neither of these platforms are firearms friendly, just full stop. For other social media platforms, TikTok also has issues. Again, they only give you about a 3% organic reach, and I, someone who just talks about firearms marketing practices and firearms history, has to battle with not eligible for recommendation on a lot of my videos, something that they don't tell you. Instead, you have to go searching for this particular issue on each of your videos manually in the app, not the desktop client, in the app. And add to that changes in the trends and the algorithm, and you get a rather unpredictable and somewhat annoying space to work in. The main redeeming feature of TikTok is that users generally don't care about production value, and short form content is king, so you can just stick to quick, simple videos and get attention that way. Finally, there's the deserved sword of Damocles hanging over TikTok. It's a Chinese app, for Christ's sakes. There's a reason why this app lives on a quarantine phone for me. The US government could also nuke it from orbit again at any time, though I would like to see a more constitutionally aligned method used. The way it was taken down last time was a massive government overreach that opened up bigger legal issues, but I won't get into that particular aside. Now, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it these days, is probably the most friendly to a space. Well, it is pushing these subscriptions hard, and the crypto and thought bots can be annoying. There is at least room to breathe here for the Second Amendment. The best way to deal with X, especially if you're on the smaller side, really is to be something of a reply guy. Comment, get attention, post your stuff. That said, local targeting is almost non-existent, and your stuff is going to have a short shelf life. Then we can also mention platforms like LinkedIn. This is almost exclusively business to business. A typical consumer won't be bumbling around on LinkedIn. So for me, as someone who's actively looking to help smaller and medium-sized 2A businesses, it has a purpose, but for FFLs selling to shooters, it's probably not a place to do much more than the occasional post. Finally, circling back to YouTube, it is a great video platform. But we circle back to the issues that the firearms industry has on it. Arbitrary, nonsensical rules that can turn an okay piece of content into verboten overnight. Honestly, that's part of the reason why I recommend Rumble as a backup. It's hedging your bets. Yes, the user base and features are nowhere near as good as YouTube, but if the ground shifts overnight due to one of these lawsuits going through, and a decision to break up Google and remove YouTube from Google's control, you do have a secondary platform up and running that you're already dealing with and growing on. So if I was a small FFL, I would probably do the following. Spend some time polishing maybe a once a week YouTube video with, halfway decent searchable title and some kind of a good thumbnail that makes people want to click. Then break that up into shorts if possible with specific segments and key points. No, you don't have to have the greatest production values. Heck, look at Buffalo Boar. I was just talking about them in a previous episode, and they've exploded in viewership and subscribers. Now, for my viewers, I would actually like to ask you for some feedback. If you'd like me to outline a free bootstrap way to start social media content production with little more than a phone, a computer, and some free software, let me know. I can do a full walkthrough tutorial that can help you get started.